Hi, my name is Rich Wiegand for ProSoccerTactics.com. Today I'd like to talk about the case for video replays for officiating the game of soccer. This video falls under the category of rules and regulations on the pull-down menu under video lessons. It is a commentary on the need to implement video replays in order to ensure greater objectivity and fairness for the game of soccer at the highest levels. I've been refereeing the game for a number of years, for over 15 years to be exact. I've also been coaching and playing as well, so I can understand the perspective of the players, the coaches, as well as the officials on the field. I'll confess to you, as a referee with some experience, that I don't always make the right calls. Referees make mistakes, and it is not always their fault directly, nor should players blame it on the refs, because it's the nature of the system, the way the rules and the officiating is organized. It's simply out of the control of the referee to referee perfect games, game in and game out. Here's why. Each official on the field has severely limited perception. We only have 2 eyes and 2 ears, and that goes for the assistant referees as well. Officials are frequently in the wrong position to make clear calls. We're often obstructed by players who get in the way. Sometimes the play is so fast that we can't always see what is transpiring. Sometimes there's action and issues that take place behind our backs. And the assistant referees can't always be relied upon because they're often very far off, too far away from the play, or they themselves have to concentrate on such things as offside and whether the ball goes in and out or across the end line. The speed of play is sometimes simply too fast for the human eye to make fair judgments. In my experience, I've noticed that I would have loved to have had a video replay to take a second look at a particular development in the action. There's simply too much responsibility allocated to essentially 1 to 3 individuals on the field. No one person should have this much authority. It is much better to have a panel committee of judges. I'd like to remind you that it's not the ref's fault, it's the system. In this video I'm going to show you a brief and incomplete compilation of some of the most controversial calls during World Cups. The first is the 1966 World Cup final between England and Germany that was held at Wembley Stadium. The controversial goal was Geoff Hurst's shot, which hits the crossbar, goes from the crossbar directly down straight onto the goal line, and the question is, did the ball fully cross the line or not? There were political ramifications and a hint of vengeance as well. The center referee was from Switzerland, while the linesman, who had the better view of the play, was from Russia. Germany had just beaten Russia in the semi-final match to advance to the final game against England, not to mention the fact that there were still Cold War tensions between the two countries. This begs the question, why would FIFA ever assign a Russian linesman to the game between Germany and England? Here is a better side-angle view done in slow motion and redone in color of the controversial play. Notice that the ball actually sprays chalk as it touches the goal line. This is further evidence that the complete ball did not cross the line, because if the complete ball had crossed the line, it would not have sprayed chalk. The next video is 1974 World Cup final, where Gerd Müller actually scored 2 goals rather than just 1. Essentially, the final score was 3-1 for Germany, not 2-1, because Müller was called offside when he in fact wasn't, as you can see in this video. Here's the clip. This play takes place in the second half of the World Cup final 1974 between Germany and Holland. Here's Grabowski, the midfielder, chipping it into the middle to Gerd Müller, who controls the ball and kicks it into the net. The question to ask is, was Müller ahead of the second-to-last defenseman when the pass was made? Take a look again. Now, was Müller ahead of the second-to-last defenseman? Ari Hahn, who is one of the players for Holland, conceded after seeing the game months later that Gerd Müller was clearly onside, and he was very surprised that Germany didn't protest, or the fans didn't protest this call by the referee. The next goal is from the 2010 World Cup in South Africa between Germany and England, when Lampard's shot again hits the crossbar, but this time it is very clear that the ball did cross the line.
Of course, there's only one place we can start, and that's with this Frank Lampard incident. No goal line technology. This is so far over the line.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to describe the goal, Dara, but, you know, I think the World Cup gets better for me and for all Irish people, I think, because this is an embarrassment. George said it. It's an embarrassment to Sepp Blatter, who, after we lost in France, dismissed the idea that you should have technology. He dismissed the idea that Platini's idea, who introduced it in the UEFA competition, the Europa Cup this year, that they should have officials behind the goals. But for Sepp Blatter, I'm absolutely...
Well, you think post-Paris and all the stuff that people here went through, Liam, but, you know, score stays at 2-1, and that footage is there for everybody to see. There will be absolutely murder. England have been robbed.
Great, I'm happy.
Well, you're not happy for England, you're happy
No, I'm not happy for England at all, but I'm happy that this guy, he doesn't want any change, or unless he thinks of it, or his pals think of it. Michel Platini didn't want Michel Platini's idea.
I think it exposes the obvious need for technology in football, and this will prove. I think there'll be changes after this particular incident now for future big tournaments, because it's a very simple thing. We see it on television. It's not as if you stop the game and you just, for those particular things there, it's an obvious one that is an injustice. It shouldn't happen, and they have to bring in technology.
Next we have the infamous Hand of God by Diego Armando Maradona, or La Mano de Dios, which took place in the elimination game between Argentina and England at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. The thing that gets to me about this play is not only the audacity displayed by Maradona to use his hand in a tomahawk style to knock the ball into the goal, but also the level of inexperience by the referee assigned by FIFA. This referee had very little experience at high-level matches, and nevertheless was assigned to this game, which in turn produced this awful decision. Such decision would not have likely been made by a more experienced referee. The next controversial call took place in an elimination game between Uruguay and Ghana at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. As you can see from this play, there's a scramble in front of the net, and then Suarez, number 9 of Uruguay, handles the ball with his hand to prevent the ball from entering the goal. For this, he receives a red card. What is controversial is not whether or not Suarez handled the ball to prevent the ball from entering the goal, but why this offside was never called prior to the red card being issued. There clearly were 2 Ghanaian players who were in offside position prior to the scramble in front of the net. Now, one of Uruguay's top players, number 9 Suarez, cannot play against Holland in the semi-final match of the World Cup. This puts Uruguay at a huge disadvantage. Yet another controversial call is the infamous handball by Thierry Henry, which gave France the go-ahead and eliminated the Republic of Ireland from attending the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. This was such a blatant handball. Everyone saw it. It was such a disgrace for officiating and an embarrassment to FIFA. How could an official not see this play? This was clearly a handball. Even Thierry Henry admitted that it was after the game. France, a few days later, offered to play a rematch to re-establish grace. Yet the powers that be, FIFA, would have none of it. According to FIFA, they do not discuss officiating decisions. Apparently, officials at FIFA are perfect. Either that or there was an agenda. Perhaps FIFA favored France on the route to the World Cup in South Africa. Next, we have an example of how influential a referee can be in determining the outcome of a championship series. Here we have Van Persie of Arsenal. who goes on the attack and is called for offside. He probably didn't hear the offside whistle, and shortly after the whistle he kicks it on goal in anticipation of trying to score. He receives a double yellow because the referee assumes that he was time wasting or kicking the ball away in disrespect. Now Arsenal has to play with 10 men, and they lose a key player against the mega powerful Barcelona, who's playing at home in the second leg of the series. It is almost as if the referee single-handedly determines the outcome of this series, because not only does he eject Van Persie, but shortly after this play gives David Villa, Barcelona, a penalty from the spot, which was a very debatable call, and put Barcelona up 3-1, thus sealing the fate for Arsenal in this second leg of the Champions League series. Here we see Messi putting the nail in the coffin. Finally, we have an example of one of the most brutal fouls that I've ever seen in the game of football. Here we have De Jong kung fu kicking Xabi Alonso in the chest of Spain during the World Cup final in South Africa 2010. For this, De Jong received merely a yellow card from referee Webb of England. This prompts the question, what standard or what does it take to get a red card? If referee Webb is sending a signal to the world that this is not red, then surely the safety of players on the field is not a top priority of the officiating of FIFA. This should be a red card by any standard of the game. Such brutality should not be tolerated on the soccer field, and players like De Jong should be indefinitely suspended. We saw a brief review of some of the most controversial plays from an officiating standpoint. 2 goal line decisions, 2 questionable offsides, 2 egregious handball goals, 2 controversial red cards, and a failure to ensure the safety of the players by one of the most revered FIFA officials. We covered a span of time from 1966 to 2010, a period of over 45 years. One would think that over this time period, FIFA would have had the smarts to incorporate technology into the game, much like the NHL, the NFL, cricket, and tennis have, in order to make the officiating more just and objective for fans and players. As each major tournament goes by, more and more egregious and painfully heartbreaking decisions will be made. The question is not if, but when, and how many more of these injustices should we, as players, fans, and coaches, take? I challenge the players and sponsors, TV advertisers, as well as the media broadcasters and team owners to take a stand and insist on doing the right thing. Insist on the incorporation of video review technology. Else we risk the reputation of this beautiful game being lampooned and ridiculed. This would be the greatest injustice considering all the hard work that players, coaches, and parents invest in developing skills and learning the game. I welcome your comments, feedback, and input on this controversial subject. Please be sure to check out my next video on rules and regs, which provides specific recommendations on how to design and implement video replay technology. Thank you.